Hello class, this is David Grant. I was doing my video to talk about informed consent. First off, I would like to talk about where I live, which is North Carolina. North Carolina calls informed consent professional disclosure. If you look at North Carolina Board of Licensed Professional Counselors website, it has instructions for the different categories of LPC. LPCA, which is an associate, it has instructions for preparing the professional disclosure for that, the regular LPC, and also LPC supervisor. It's got a template for each one. So in saying that, I found a informed consent from somebody in North Carolina, and it's on the web. You can find it by typing elizabethtatum.org, and she has a LPC disclosure statement on that website. So in Ms. Tatum's disclosure, she lists all the required elements of the North Carolina requirements to be in the document. North Carolina has, I'll name them quickly. One, the name of the licensee. Two, the licensee's highest relevant degree. The name of the institution granting the degree. Number three, the number of all relevant credentials, number of years counseling, the services offered, length of sessions, the fee for those sessions, and the method of payments, billing, or insurance reimbursement. Number seven is explanation of confidentiality and responsibilities. Number eight, a statement of procedure for registering complaints, the number, address of the board office, in my case, North Carolina. Number nine is a place to sign for the licensee or the counselor, and also a place for the client to sign. Number 10, the level of licensure and whether a licensee is under supervision, and if so, list the name of the supervisor. So that's the North Carolina Board of Licensed Professional Counseling requirements to be in the professional disclosure or the informed consent. Now, Ms. Tatum, I really like it. It's simple, but yet it includes everything North Carolina requires. It starts off by saying, "Welcome to my practice. This form contains important information pertaining to my professional services and business policies. Please read carefully and feel free to ask any questions. Once signed, it constitutes a binding agreement between us." Then it goes on to list her credentials, her highest degree as North Carolina requires, her experience. She's got 9 years of counseling experience. And then it goes on to talk about confidentiality and the reasons why to break confidentiality, such as child abuse. Everybody in North Carolina is mandated to report child abuse, but counselors, if it's disclosed there's child abuse going on, they have to inform Child Protective Service. And then it goes on to talk about Ms. Tatum's theoretical approach and how she believes in cognition influences behavior and therefore endorses the cognitive behavioral approach. Helping change a client's thinking in turn prompts behavior change. And she goes on to talk about some more things that's real positive, which I like also. And then she talks about the services available, which is one of the requirements number 5 from what I read off earlier, and the initial session. The initial session, she talks about, what services would be useful, the treatment plan, the goals, the paperwork. And she goes on to say there will be a diagnosis, or if there is a diagnosis, when appropriate, it'll become a permanent part of the personal record, and that diagnosis will be discussed and explained, as it comes available. And also another requirement, the fees and payment. In this case, the fee for the initial assessment is $150. The hourly fee with the follow-up appointments is $120 for a 50-minute individual session. If she has to go to court, make courtroom appearances, that along with the travel times billed at $250 an hour. Payment is requested at time of service. Moving on down, it talks about cancellations. You need 24 hours cancellation notice before, or it'll be charged. The fee will be charged. The contact information for how to contact the therapist or the counselor. Also, another North Carolina requirement is how to register a complaint. You got by the North Carolina board, you've got to have the name, address, and phone number, and that's listed on her professional disclosure. And at the end of it, she's got informed consent. I've read the disclosure statement, understand it, and agreed to the conditions. And at that point, if the client wants to enter into a counseling session, the client signs it, the clinician signs it, and there it is. It's informed consent or a professional disclosure listed on file for services. Now, I have read through the American Counseling Association website on the information needed, through the Code of Ethics, and I jotted down some I will talk about. Number one is you're supposed to have purposes, goals, techniques, procedures, limitations, potential risk and benefits, counselors, qualification, credentials, relevant experience and approach to counseling, continuation of services upon death of counselor, the role of technology, diagnosis and implications. So in reading over those, if I compare it, the professional disclosure form to the ACA types of information needed, it looks like we're missing continuation of services upon death of the counselor. That's not listed in Ms. Tatum's professional disclosure. The role of technology is not mentioned in Ms. Tatum's professional disclosure. She did mention email in here about where, the internet service provider is the only one really that could have a copy of it unless the system was hacked. But it's not totally secure if you email personal information. She does talk about that aspect of technology, but that's about it. And I think that's about all she's missing. So Miss Tatum did a very good job of trying to implement ACA types of information needed, as well as North Carolina Board information. So in closing, I would like to ask the instructor or the class, either one, that has an answer, is when trying to decide of what to put in the informed consent, is it more important or of equal importance to put your state's requirements or to put the ACA Code of Ethics requirements. They're very similar. North Carolina and the ACA requirements are very similar, but I don't see many differences. But in some states there are differences, and at what point do you decide, or how do you decide to make the professional disclosure accustomed to trying to fit, so you don't break any codes. Is the ACA Code of Ethics more important than the state Code of Ethics? I'm sure if I get to reading more and as this class goes on, I'll find out, but maybe I can get an answer from you guys a little sooner. And but that's my question, is at what point or how do you decide what's more important? Or do you try to incorporate everything? I'm trying to just make sure I understand correctly what I should enclose in the document. I hope I explained North Carolina's requirement, and I compare and contrast the two in a way that everybody can understand. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future. Thank you.